So a few weeks ago, a sister was asking me basically if I could do a video, and I had to write down what she said. Otherwise, I'm gonna forget, and I want to be able to make sure I answer all of her questions that she asked me. But basically, she was like, I wanted to see if you could tell us about how a sister should live the right kind of life. What should we be doing? How do you live your day to day life around God? I want to learn more about how you got where you are. And there was a bit more to her comment, but I just wrote down the parts that I really wanted to hit. But, anyways, I hope that this helps not only her, but also any other women who are on here, especially if you're very new in your walk, because now's the time to learn how to be a biblical woman, now instead of later. And I did do a short one on YouTube. It was actually under 3 minutes, so it was very, very short. So if you're someone who does better with very, 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 very short videos, please go, I guess. Actually, I might upload it on here if it's saved to my camera roll after I do this one, but this one's gonna be a little bit longer. And I think I might give a little bit of testimony and things like that. Because let me just say, it wasn't an overnight process that I just woke up and I knew everything right away. And I just became this totally obedient girl and things like that. No, it was a process, a sanctification process. This is something that a lot of people need to realize. Once you become a believer, it's not that you're automatically done. Like, okay, I'm a believer. I'm automatically 100% obedient no matter what happens, because we're still battling the flesh and the spirit, as the scripture shows. So we're still going to have those moments where we're susceptible to the flesh and we might do a little oopsie and things like that. But you don't want to be like that. You want to make us it's one of those things, like the whole desire is like you want to desire to be like Yeshua. You need to compare yourself to him, which is something I can share, that I used to compare myself to others a lot, and I still have my moments where I might slip up and I might start doing that, but that's not what the scriptures say to do. We're supposed to imitate. Like Paul said, imitate him as he imitates Messiah, and then other scriptures show, we're supposed to be following Yeshua and this and that. So the one person who we should really be looking to imitate, to really be looking and seeing and reflecting if our life aligns with his, is our Messiah, to see, are we really walking as he walked? Are we doing the things he did? But anyways, I guess to share a little bit of testimony, there's been, I don't know how to explain, because let's just say there's been a lot of change that he's done in my life. And to keep it short, I used to be very rebellious, where it was just like, especially with my parents, like they told me one thing, it was like I would do another, like no matter what. Like I was just super rebellious. I didn't want to obey. I was doing my own thing. Nobody could tell me anything. I was very prideful. Like you could not correct me, even if I was wrong. Even if I was wrong, it was like it didn't really matter. I did not want to hear it. It was just like, okay, F you. Even though internally I might be feeling that conviction, like, oh shoot, I don't want to be like this. And there was other sins I wanted to be set free from, but I didn't know how to be set free. And very much a Jezebel. I was very much immodest with not only my behavior, but with my looks. I was wearing makeup, doing the tight clothing, posting myself all over the place and things like that. So when I'm rebuking you women for doing these things, let me just tell you, I was like that too. And that's why I'm rebuking you for it, because I've taken the log out of my eye and I want to help take the speck out of your eye. And that's what scripture actually tells us to do with each other. If you genuinely love your neighbor, you're going to tell them when they're wrong. But anyways, it's like, let's just say what he's done in my life is a whole 180. Like, I used to also be a very angry person. I would hold grudges. I was very, very emotional. I was very unstable mentally. I was depressed, anxious, suicidal. You name it, I was that. Okay, I had, especially outside of Covenant, I had like really bad ADHD. I was never diagnosed, but let's just say it's very, even now I still have it, but it's not, it's definitely not to the same extent to what it once was. But anyways, to get into what's been working for me a little bit, guess on the deeper side, because this is stuff I actually share a lot in my videos, where basically, the fasting from the flesh, and I don't mean a literal, like you fast from food. Now that can be helpful, especially if your like the things, your heart posture needs to be in the right place. Like if you're gonna fast for food, don't just do it like, oh, I'm gonna fast so I lose weight. You know what I mean? Like that's not gonna help you in your walk with God. Like, a part of it is discipline. I can say for me, what's helped me a lot in my walk is to be disciplined. And it's not my own strength that I'm disciplined. Let me tell you something. I'm a very distracted girl. I'm very much like, like squirrel, like, to put it simply. But He's helped me to learn how to be self-controlled, to be disciplined. He's helped me to learn how to submit and like just slow. And again, it's been a process, like a slow process, but it's been a process. Okay, he's been working in me. He's been showing me like, again, I only just this year was I seeing how bad emotions can be. Because that's the thing, it's not bad to have emotions, but what are you gonna do with those emotions? So I hope everything so far making sense. I'm sorry if I'm talking too fast. But anyways, there's like when you fast from the flesh, then you're able to walk in the spirit, fulfill his desires instead of your own. Now, is this always going to be 100% possible? It all because that's the thing. Some women are married, some women have children, some have both a husband and children. Some women may not have that. Maybe some women live with their parents, but they have a job, or like everybody has some sort of responsibility that they have apart from being a servant of God. So sometimes, it's not always going to be the most possible thing to constantly, where you're constantly in the word, constantly in prayer, or constantly doing the work and things like that. But something that I can share with you that's helped me a lot in my walk is something that a sister shared with me, is you can't go off your own standard of judgment, your own standard of righteousness, where it's like, oh, I rebuked 20 people today, so I'm good. Tomorrow I need to rebuke 30, or like I rebuked 5, or like, you know what I mean? You can't go off that standard, or you can't be like, in the sense like, oh my God, I only rebuked 20 people today. What the heck? Or I only rebuked 5. You know what I mean? Like there's like there's two sides where it's not good. Like, I'd be like, yeah, I rebuked that many people, and tomorrow I'm gonna rebuke more. And you also can't be like, well, I didn't rebuke enough people, like I need to rebuke more. You know what I mean? Like both sides of that is wrong, because it's not about the number you do. It's about overall having a heart for the Father and for his people, finding his lost sheep, doing it according to the ability that you're able to. So if you're married, I'm not going to get too much into like the whole if you're married, because I'm not a married woman, so I don't feel like I have as much wisdom and advice versus sisters who are married. And if you are a married woman watching this, I can point you to other sisters who to women who are married or who have been married and have wisdom with how you're supposed to be with your husband. But to keep it short and sweet and to the point, for you married women watching this, what will be good for you in your walk, what will really help your marriage, is 1 Corinthians 7 and 1 Peter 3, especially 1 Peter 3, learning how to be a biblical woman, to win him over with your chaste conversation, with which means your conduct, the inner your heart, like, because you can win him over if you just watch. Sometimes you don't even actually, I think it shows in 1 Peter 3, you don't even have to say anything. It's just him seeing how obedient you are to the Father above all else can really cause a man to be like, wonder, like, wait, what's going on with my wife? And then he can come to you, start asking you questions and things like that. And I'm saying this, and I've shared this before in some other videos, because this happened in my own home with my dad and my mom. So what this means for you married women is like, just submit to your husband. Obviously, if he's causing you to sin or trying to get you to sin, then you don't obey him, because we obey God, not man, right? So whether he's the thing is, whether he's in covenant or not, you just have to be obedient to the Father. Praying for your husband can help too. And then focusing on your walk, taking your eyes off him and doing your part will help you as well. And I'm saying this because this has helped other sisters, but again, I'm not trying to go too far with the marriage and stuff like that, or even with children, because I'm not married. I don't have kids, okay? I'm still learning. So if you're a married woman and want to know more about that, let me know. Well, actually, I can just leave them. I might leave, because I know some sisters who are married, so I can just put like their TikToks or something, and you can get in contact with them, whether you want to watch their videos or just directly talk to them, because they will help you if you need help, and show you how you're supposed to be as a biblical woman, sorry. But anyways, or if you're not married but you're living with your parents, you need to obey your parents and everything, because that's what's pleasing to the Father. It's the first commandment with promise. And even that's like it's like a twofold thing. You obey your parents, but then like especially if they're outside of covenant. And what I mean by like that's like, especially like say if they're like a Christian or something and they don't know to keep the 10 commandments, then you teach them to keep the 10 commandments. But the thing is, you still overall have to be obedient to them, unless again they are trying to cause you to disobey a commandment of God. We obey God, not man. So that's the case where you wouldn't obey men, even your parents, if they're trying to cause you to sin against the Father. You gotta love him first. You gotta love him above all things. And you have to be prepared for Matthew 10 sword, whether you're married again or whether you are living with your parents or whatever your living situation is. Because when you start becoming a servant of the Father and start walking in spirit and truth, people are not gonna like that. They're not gonna understand it, especially at first. Maybe eventually they might come around, but a lot of people are gonna be like, they're just not going to like seeing this change in you. So you need to be prepared for the persecution that comes with being a servant, because it's a lot. It's a lot to take on. And that's why I recommend you pray. You be in the word. You got to be armored up, especially if you're going to be able to handle it. To remember that these people are battling, like we're not battling with flesh and blood, but with spirits, like principalities, things like that. So to remember, we're also in a spiritual battle, that these people are blind. They need healing and saving, and things like that can help you in this regard. I'm trying to think, because honestly there's so much in this regard, but even then, like, that's to keep that short and sweet. I hope that makes sense with how to handle persecution. Don't take it personal. Let him make your forehead hard, like the scripture said, like what he did for Ezekiel, because they're not gonna, just because they won't listen to him, they're not gonna listen to you. That's what Ezekiel 2:3, I believe, and 33 shows. So let him make your forehead hard, but have your heart be soft for his people. And what I mean by soft, like where you have that heart for the people, ask for a burden for souls, ask him to help you to learn how to lay down your life for the sake of the brethren, because that's the thing, we're supposed to learn how to be maid servants. Now, to balance everything, like with how to be a maid servant while you still have this other life, right, outside of being a believer and being in covenant, that's something I'm still learning how to balance as well. Because it's tough, because it's like my overall desire is like wanting to, like, if I could just be like for example, Joshua, where he got to be, I don't know if it's like in the tent of a meeting or whatever, but basically how he was always there, like he never left it. I don't know if it's that, but if I could be like that, I would. But obviously in today's time, that's not really the case. We have either jobs, families, and things like that to tend to take care of. You can't neglect your responsibilities in this regard just because you start becoming a servant. You have to let him lead you and guide you with how to handle both. So make sure, if you're going to be a servant, yes, you got to lay down your life for the brethren, but also don't take on more than what you can actually handle either. Because let me just say, you're gonna regret it if you do. Like, well, not really, because if you're talking to the sheep, what is there to regret? But it can cause you to be stretched thin when you're a servant, but then you're also like, oh man, I have to be with my husband, or I have to take care of my children. And it's not that you don't love them, it's like you just love God more and you want to find his people and you want to serve, you want to do things his way, you want to walk as Yeshua did. So it's like, again, learning how to balance that. It's like, that's why it's like you can't neglect that. So instead, it's like, find time for both. It's like your ultimate one first should be, yes, the Father and his people, and learning his truth as much as you can, especially as we see the day approaching. We want to get more pruned and become more obedient, be without spot, be without rebuke, blameless before him, and things like that, right? That's how we're supposed to want to be, as the scriptures show. But then you also still have to make time for your family, make time for your kids, cook, clean, and all the other stuff. Or if you have a worldly job you have to work and attend to, you have to make time for that. Something that helps me with my worldly job is I listen to the Bible the whole time that I'm there. So for at least 3.5, 4 hours straight, just listening to Bible, because at least if I can't read it, or I'll read the Bible also before I go to work, because this is also something, you know what, how about it's like first thing in the morning, and this is something that I'm trying to implement in my life as well. I'm not perfect with it, but first thing in the morning, with the reading, with the praying and stuff like that, just spending some time with him before you maybe just go start rebuking, or before you go start your life, your daily life, with being with your kids and family, or again with work and things like that. It's a game changer when you actually just seek him first. Seek him first, seek his kingdom first, and kingdom is his people, and all else will be added unto you. Okay, you just start with that. You have faith with him, like actual genuine faith. Do things his way, and you'll be able to balance everything else in between that you need to balance. Again, I guess it all really comes back to being disciplined. Just learn how to be disciplined. And that's the thing, you don't want to live your life by a schedule, but some people, I can say, even though I absolutely hate schedules and feeling like I'm living that movie Groundhog Day, living the same day over and over and over on repeat, doing the same thing and stuff like that, some people genuinely do need that. And if you're someone who does need that, then create a schedule for yourself that works for you and for your family, or for whatever you got going on. Okay, I don't know with everyone's different. Like some people, if like you're single, live completely alone, things like that, then you have it pretty good where you actually can just do the work you gotta do and things like that. The only thing you'd probably have to do is probably take care of your own house and then your worldly job. But even then, like if it's just you to worry about, there's not much else you got to worry about. But yeah, it comes down to being disciplined. It comes down to really, how much are you really going to obey God? How much are you really going to love him and love his people and things like that? So I guess to answer honestly how a sister should live in this life, should live a life worthy of the calling. You should live a life that reflects Yeshua's life. So compare yourself to him. Figure out, okay, is this the way how I've, like, it's like you gotta question, like, okay, would Yeshua do this? Like with the stuff that you're doing, like things like that. Keeping the Father first, like meditating on his word day and night. So maybe even if you're not reading it, but just having the scriptures in your head. Ask him also when you're reading his word for his full truth and nothing but his full truth, because he'll show you. He showed me, he showed my family, and he's still showing me stuff. It's not like I've arrived and know everything, but he's still showing me, still helping me learn. So things like that. Again, I can't really stress prayer enough as well, because honestly, prayer can help so much, especially with surrendering, because the thing is, women are more on the emotional side, so there's a lot more we can have inside. We don't want things to get bottled up and then we flip out and things like that. So really praying to the Father, not just for the emotions and things like that, but like if you have I don't know, like just casting your cares before him, I guess, to put it simply. Just pray, even if it seems silly to pray about it. Just talk to him, commune with him, so that he can help you, so that he can take it, whatever like worry you have, or like fear, or whatever it is, he can take it. You know what I mean? He's more stronger than us, okay? He can take it on. Like, so that's also really important to do as well. And then overall, as a biblical woman, the way how we're supposed to be biblically, we're supposed to be again, not just modest physically, outwardly, because there's plenty who are modest outwardly, but then not modest inwardly. It's supposed to be twofold. Like, it's supposed to show, like, there's people are gonna know if you're a true biblical woman by the way how you act, the way how you conduct yourself in this life. So that's a big part of it. And then making sure you're clothed in his good works. So it's not just so once 1 Timothy 2:9-10, it's not just this, like, you again, literal modest thing, but it's also being clothed in his good works. What are the good works that were ordained beforehand that we should walk in them? The 10 Commandments. And then teaching others to keep the 10 Commandments as well. We're supposed to let our light shine before men. How does that look? Right? So, oh yeah, sharing the truth with people, whether it's online, in person, however it is he leads you, just do the like whatever little he's given you, be faithful in it, and he'll show you everything else you need to know. Be faithful in little, then you'll be faithful in much. The thing is, though, the more you know, the more is going to be required of you, so you need to be prepared for that as well. And that's basically what you should be doing. You should be doing John 15, I guess, to keep it the most simply. Keeping the 10 Commandments, teaching your neighbor to do so. Love God, love your neighbor. These are the two greatest commandments, and it's the ones that were, because he elevated the law, magnified the law, made it honorable. So love God is keeping his commandments, learning his word, abiding in his word and things like that, right? That's overall simply how to love God. But then loving your neighbor is you teach them, you rebuke them, you correct them, but you even exhort with the scriptures. You pray for them, you help, you know what I mean? Like, that's how you love your neighbor as yourself, but especially the rebuking, because we all need to be kept in line, especially, again, the women with the emotions. So if you're an emotional woman, pray. If you're, especially, like, you just pray, ask him to help you overcome your flesh and do things his way. That's what we're called to do. So I hope that helps. I hope that I even answered the how do you live your life day to day, because honestly, again, that's something I'm still balancing. But it's like, even if maybe I'm not doing as much kingdom work as I want to, I still have him in my head and my heart. So it's like making sure you just keep him first no matter what, That's like because that's the thing. You put him first, it really is one of those things. You put him first and everything else is going to fall into place. Like, again, it's really overall just having that heart for him and that heart for his people. But I don't know, I hope all of this made sense, because I feel like there's so much that goes into with how to be a woman of God and be a maid servant and all this stuff, because, like, it's not just like this one little thing and then boom, you're good to go. So I'm also pretty tired right now too, so I don't even know if half of it makes sense. But yeah, I don't know. I hope this helps you, and I hope this helps other women too.